Napier Type 44 six-cylinder touring car 1913. The Napier marque was favored by royalty and nobility the world over, influenced in no small way by the engineering brilliance of Montague Napier and, in the early days, the marketing genius of Selwyn F. Edge, who brought the marque to prominence at the turn of the 19th century. One of their best customers in America was telephone magnate Charles Jasper Glidden of Massachusetts, who drove Napiers on a series of long-distance tours, one of which became the series carrying his name. Napier claimed many firsts, building the first British racing car for the Gordon Bennett race of 1901 and winning that prestigious event in 1902, the car wearing for the first time the British racing green livery. Napier claimed also to be the first manufacturer to offer a six-cylinder car in a production model, the 18-horsepower car of 1903, and it was another six-cylinder model, this time a mighty 60-horsepower racer, which set a new record at the newly opened Brooklands track in 1907, driving at an average speed of 65.9 miles per hour for 24 hours. Napier achieved the distinction of producing the world's first commercially viable six-cylinder engine in 1904. A 5-liter car with mechanical overhead intake valves, it soon spawned a 15-liter racing version. Napier, however, aimed squarely at the luxury market, a 60-horsepower, 7.7-liter 6 becoming the best-known model. In 1908 came a 5-liter L-head 6 with 3-speed gearbox and shaft drive. Colonial models with a raised chassis had greater ground clearance for use in less developed Commonwealth countries. This is an extremely well-known example of the famed British marque, which can boast a pedigree known back to its earliest days, followed by successive ownerships in the collections of numerous prominent car collectors in both the UK and here in America. Its early history is known thanks to its immediate post-war owner Richard Dick Barton, of the Barton Motor Company Limited of Plymouth in the southwest of Great Britain, who acquired the car in 1946-7. As he recorded its history to later owners, it is known to have been bought new in December 1913, most probably in the Bournemouth, South Coast, as evidenced by the L prefix on its British license plate. Mr. Barton stated that he had purchased it from Bobbitt's garage of Teignmouth, where he was told it had been laid up in 1930 after it was no longer of useful service. At that time he had met its former chauffeur who, by his own accounts, had 2 Napier cars in the original owner's stable, a formal limousine which his master tended to use in the winter and this touring car for the summer months. When purchased by Barton it was actually his only mode of transport, and it seems to have served both as a daily driver and a tour car, completing a number of local rallies including a mammoth 350-mile-a-day event up to Longbridge to the Morris plant. True to the statement of upper crust motoring that the Napier represents, while in Barton's ownership it was used by Winston Churchill's son Randolph when campaigning for Member of Parliament for the Devonport seat. Later, fondly recalling his use of the car in this era, Barton championed its usability and outright speed. After a few years Barton sold the car on through noted dealer Cecil Bindle in 1954. It would pass into long-term ownership once again in 1965, where it would remain for the next 2 decades. At this juncture, the car's Napier green livery was refurbished comprehensively at the hands of noted car agents Caffines, to the sky blue scheme it has worn since. In regular use, its mechanical condition was progressively refurbished also, with an engine rebuild in 1986 being among the more major works completed. In 1987 the car passed to known collector John Brown of Newbury, a familiar face on many British and European car tours, and from him to Richard Sanders of Bicester. A couple more British owners followed before the car passed through noted connoisseur and dealer Peter Harper in 2007, until leaving the UK for the first time in its near century of existence. Arriving in the USA, the car was quickly acquired by noted Pacific Northwest collector Ken McBride, who would keep it until his untimely death in 2010, when it was purchased by a friend of his. After completing a major service on the car, it was then campaigned on West Coast brass tours, most recently the 2015 Mozart Brass and Nickel Tour in Paso Robles, California, where the car performed flawlessly. Today the car's older restoration has undoubtedly aged, but in doing so it has gained a rather charming secondary patina, which suits it well. Assisting potential for the multitude of brass and gas tours here and further afield, it comes with full weather equipment, and on the mechanical side it benefits from the fitting of a starter motor. It is reported to be on the button and running well. With an illustrious history, original touring body, and a legendary 6-cylinder refinement, the Napier has much to offer, and looks like exceptional value compared to some of its peers.